time is 7:40. I'll call this regular business and public hearing of the mayor and council to order. Today is Monday, May 11th, 2015. All members of the mayor and council are present. Just a minute. We have Tim Tackett with us tonight from the Snellville Ward of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to lead us in our invocation. Mr. Tackett.
Our Father, which art in heaven, we're thankful to meet together tonight as citizens and community leaders in this city council meeting. We're thankful to live in this great country, thankful for all the liberties and freedoms we enjoy here, and for those who have sacrificed much to provide us with these great freedoms. We're thankful for those who currently serve and protect and defend our liberties and rights. We pray that Thou would bless them for their service and dedication, and that they can be safe and inspired to make wise decisions on our behalf. We ask Thee that as a society and as citizens that we can uplift each other, that we can help make this a better city, a better country and world which to live in. We give Thee these thanks and ask for these blessings humbly in the name of Thy only begotten Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Now for our announcements, there will be a Board of Appeals meeting tomorrow at 7 p.m. with a work session and 7:30 p.m. with a meeting. The Planning Commission will meet on May 19th. It's a special called meeting. They'll have a 6:30 p.m. work session, 7:30 p.m. meeting here at City Hall. You can watch a rebroadcast of this council meeting on Comcast Channel 25 on May 24th at 6:30 p.m. Our May 25th council meeting has been canceled in honor of Memorial Day. And on May 25th, all of our city offices and the recycling center will be closed. Emergency services will operate as usual. The May 26th Planning Commission meeting will be canceled. There will be a special called Planning Commission meeting then on June 2nd at 7 p.m. here in the City Hall. And we'll have a blood drive on June 5th in the community room from 1:30 to 6:30 p.m. We'll have our next regular scheduled council meeting on June 8th. We'll have a 6:30 p.m. work session and a 7:30 p.m. meeting. And on June 9th, the Board of Appeals meeting is TBA. Depends on if we get any applications in between now and then, so check back on June 8th. With that, we'll have the pledge to the flag. If I can have former Councilman Mike Sabag come forward and lead us in tonight's pledge.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That now brings us to ceremonial matters. A couple of corrections to the agenda under ceremonial matters. There will be no presentation tonight to the Public Works Department, and we will have a second proclamation. That will be Proclamation 2015-07. That is a Preeclampsia Awareness Month here in the city of Snellville. Before we get to that, though, I want to do Proclamation 2015-06. Ms. Gresham, can you hear me? Do you want to come forward, Ms. Gresham? For those of you that don't know, this is Mary Ann Gresham, and she is a Snellville resident, and she has been a volunteer in our city for many years. She's volunteered at Snellville Days, and she also volunteers at the Senior Center. And she is no longer going to volunteer on the Snellville Days Committee, and so we want to thank her for her work and her dedication, and we have this proclamation to give to her tonight. Whereas Mary Jane Gresham has been a volunteer with Snellville Days for over 20 years. She and her beloved husband of 41 years, Jimmy, spent their wedding anniversary May 5th for the last 20 years volunteering with Snellville Days. We lost Jimmy on August 13, 2009, but Mary Jane is continuing to serve the community. Whereas Mary Jane has not only volunteered for Snellville Days, but is a member of the Snellville Lions Club, officer with the Georgia Good Sam Camping Club, and the PTSA. She volunteered for the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts, where her son Terrell became an Eagle Scout, and she volunteered at Britt Elementary, Snellville Middle School, and South Gwinnett High School. She's always put her community first. Whereas Mary Jane was born in Americus, Georgia, and was a school teacher. In fact, while teaching at Snellville Elementary, Mary Jane came to know Jimmy. Jimmy's younger brother, Ray, was in 7th grade there. When Mary Jane and Jimmy's son was born in October 1973, Mary Jane did not teach full-time again, but worked as a substitute teacher for several years. She followed with several years at Treasury Drugs and Kroger Pharmacy. Whereas Mary Jane has attended every Snellville Days Festival since its beginning in 1974. She remembers a year with a record 350 vendors, a year with rains and winds that damaged a lot of vendor booths, but she only remembers the parade being canceled once. As her favorite grand marshals, it would be Vince Dooley, Boss Hogg, Diana DeGarmo, Tom Wupat, the Lone Ranger, and David Green of the University of Georgia. Mary Jane has always worked the grandstand at the parade, and when David Green's driver did not stop, she chased him down the street. I didn't know that. Mary Jane says the greatest crowd was for Michael Damian of The Young and the Restless in 1987. As far as themes go, she really loved Field of Dreams from 1994. She says she was very impressed with the Vietnam Wall. For concerts, she enjoyed Jerry Reed, the Tams, Charlie Daniels, the Swingin' Medallions, and Diana DeGarmo. Miss Gresham is a living history of our Snellville Days Festival, and she's going to be missed. So I, Kelly D. Couts, Mayor of the City of Snellville, Georgia, do hereby proclaim in recognition of the outstanding service to the citizens of Snellville that hereby congratulate Mary Jane Gresham, encourage all of Snellville citizens to thank and congratulate Mary Jane, encourage her to continue to be one of Snellville's finest volunteers. This is the 11th day of May, 2011. And Ms. Gresham, I have these flowers in somewhere. Don't say we don't ever give you anything.
Thank y'all for the ladies 25 years past. I've seen a lot. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Someone asked me several years ago, why do you do this? Why do I do it? Because I love Snellville and I love the people in Snellville. It's been good to me. It's been my home since 1967. Lord willing, I'll be here till my days have gone by. Thank you again for all of you that have helped make these 25 years great, especially the Parks and Recreation Department that have put up with, might not be able to hear, but we've made it through. Thank you, and God bless you all.
We also have Proclamation 2015-07. That's, am I saying this right? Preeclampsia Awareness Month. Whereas preeclampsia, including HELP syndrome and eclampsia, is a dangerous condition of pregnancy that can, in its severest form, lead to maternal and/or infant mortality or premature birth with significant health risk for the mother and baby. It is characterized by high blood pressure, and whereas as many as 320,000 cases of preeclampsia are diagnosed in America every year, with approximately 25% resulting in severe life-threatening consequences to a pregnant woman and her baby. Whereas public education about the signs and symptoms of preeclampsia, HELP syndrome, and eclampsia can help women recognize the condition and seek appropriate medical care. Whereas May is National Preeclampsia Awareness Month, as designated by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to build awareness, and this year's theme is Take the Preeclampsia Pledge, Know the Symptoms, Spread the Word. Whereas as part of the National Preeclampsia Awareness Month, thousands of families in 43 cities will be participating in the Promise Walk for Preeclampsia. Whereas the Promise Walk for Preeclampsia is the signature awareness and fundraising event of the Preeclampsia Foundation to support its mission of saving the lives of mothers and babies impacted by preeclampsia and related hypertensive disorders of pregnancy, provide patient support and education, raise public awareness, catalyze research, and improve healthcare practices for millions of mothers and their babies every year who are impacted by preeclampsia and related hypertensive disorders of pregnancy. Whereas Atlanta is one of the 43 cities participating in the Promise Walk for Preeclampsia. The Atlanta Walk is organized by Snellville resident Christy Olds and is being held in the Snellville community at Lenora Church Park on May 30th, 2015, with registration at 8 a.m. Whereas it is important for the citizens of Snellville, Georgia, to join with the Preeclampsia Foundation to raise public awareness in order to minimize maternal and infant illness and death due to preeclampsia. Now therefore I, Kelly D. Couts, Mayor of the City of Snellville, Georgia, where everybody is somebody, do hereby proclaim May 2015 as Preeclampsia Awareness Month in the City of Snellville, and ask the citizens of Snellville to join me in support of the Promise Walk for Preeclampsia in Snellville and in the Preeclampsia Foundation's efforts to reduce maternal and infant illness and mortality due to preeclampsia and related hypertensive disorders of pregnancy. Proclaimed this 11th day of May 2015. And we have Ms. Olds here with us tonight. We want to thank her for her efforts for bringing awareness to our community of this. So come forward. Do we have a motion to approve the April 27th, 2015 business and public hearing meeting minutes with the correction discussed in the work session?
Motion to approve with the addition of hybrid self-insured option.
There's a motion by Councilman Emanuel. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Witts. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. 6 in favor, all opposed, 0 opposed. The minutes stand approved. We have no invited guests tonight. Now for our committee and department reports, we have Mr. Bice with the Art Commission.
Good evening. Thank you, ma'am. The Arts Commission has been upside down for a little while, but we're right side up most of the time. Have been busy with lots of different projects, and briefly go over a couple of them with everybody. As most of you know, we are working on getting a labyrinth installed right behind the Veterans Park in the corner over there, and we would be happy to have anybody interested in continuing to donate for that. It's planned to be installed in the fall of this year and be completed. If anybody would like to see me about donations, or check our website, because everything is available on there also. Second thing we've got going on is our mural, which is on Highway 78. This is something that we started in the fall when the weather was a little bit better, and then we got into winter and then the rain. but we'll be picking back up on that shortly. And ideally, our plan is to finish that by the end of the year. Again, if anybody's interested in wielding a paintbrush, please see me. As somebody who doesn't paint, I have been guided by experts. I can do paint by numbers, and that's what they have me do when I go out there to paint. The next thing that we are working on is we've commissioned a sculpture for close to the Labyrinth, behind the Veterans Memorial out there, titled Freedom, which we're planning on having installed in December at the end of the construction on that side of the green. And it's a little difficult to see, but the closest one is this right up here. The artist is a fellow named Al Garnto. He lives up in North Georgia, and it's called Freedom because this will be a kinetic sculpture, which means that in the wind it will very slightly move. This one that you can't see well here is one that was up on the Swanee Town Green. Thank you. And this one's about almost 20 feet tall. Ours will not be nearly that tall. It will be about half tall. It will be a little bit less than 10 feet, but again, in the wind, that's okay. If anybody wants to see it afterward, that's fine. It will move very slightly, and I think that will be an excellent addition out there. The next project that is near and dear to my heart is the poster that we're making called Proud to be Snellville. And you may recognize some of these goofy faces on here. But this is a poster we're making just to make sure everybody knows that Snellville does indeed have a sense of humor. And you can see all the pictures up there. The final product will look something more along the lines of this. And so you still have time to get your picture onto this. We're going to be completing this this next week. We're finishing taking all the pictures at the Wisteria City Market. If anybody is willing to pose tonight, I'll be right outside and take more pictures after the meeting. The final product is going to be 18 inches wide by 24 inches tall. We're going to print only 20 of them and then try to find 20 people who'll spend $20 to proudly display them in their businesses. But it tickles me whenever I see that. And actually, I would like to thank everybody who has so very willingly said, yes, okay, I'll take this picture for you. I've not had many people say, no, they're not willing to do that and risk being looking foolish. Other things that we have got going on, we're going to have a murder mystery fundraising show in August at Summit Chase. That will be an audience involvement show. We're going to redo the ghost tour in October. We currently have a commission seat open, and we will have a second seat open at the end of June when another member drops off at the end of her term. We meet, I don't think it was on the list of meetings, but we meet every third Monday here in the community room. So our next one is a week from tonight at 6:30, and we would like lots of folks to come on out and get involved. And our website, as you can see there, is www.snellvillarts.com. And that's my spiel. Does anybody have any questions about anything that we're attempting to do?
Thank you, Mr. Vice.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Kirkland is not here for the URA report, so we will have our city manager's report. Mr. Sanders.
Mayor, I just have a couple of things. I've had occasion to attend several meetings recently at our Gwinnett Municipal Association offices. This is a group of the 16 cities in Gwinnett that chose to come together into their own mini municipal association. And they do a great job for all of our cities. And I'm just proud to report from the meeting the other night that we are getting a pretty large reduction in our per capita fees. We're going down from the current 95 cents to 80 cents per capita. So that's about a $2,900, $3,000 savings to the city and reflected in the budget. And that was good news from Randy Meacham, who is the staff person. And they do a great job. They try to address issues common issues among the cities. And one of the things that they do is put on some interesting meetings where you can get some good information. One of those, I think several of us will be attending tomorrow on changing demographics, updated data for the community. And I appreciate GWMA sponsoring that meeting. That's from 9 to 12 tomorrow as a reminder. And I think I'll just leave it at that, and we'll move on to the budget.
That brings us to, Mr. Sanders, if you'll save your report for item B on the budget. That brings us to item A, first reading, consideration action on adoption of operating and capital improvement budget for fiscal year 2016. Do I have a motion to waive the first reading and place it on our next meeting in June?
So moved.
There's a motion by Ms. Bender. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Emanuel. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. That's 6 in favor. All those opposed, 0 opposed. The motion stands approved. That brings us to item B. This is opportunity for our citizens to give input on the proposed fiscal year 2016 budget. Before they're able to do that, Mr. Sanders, you want to give us a summary of what is in the fiscal year 2016 budget?
I'd be glad to. I just have a few overview slides, which you may not be able to read, but there are copies of the proposed budget as well as the notes in the back, if anybody wants to pick up a copy who hasn't already. Just kind of going over the proposed FY 2016 budget, and this is a first reading. There probably will be some changes between now and the second reading and adoption in June. Our largest revenue line item comes, of course, from the property tax digest, something that every citizen, every property owner is interested in. And this year we're projecting a tax digest of just over $722 million, which sounds like a lot of money, and it is. The thing is, in 2008, if you see, it was actually $851 million. We've taken quite a hit. The lowest number there was a couple of years ago. We have gone up, had a healthy increase last year, and we're projecting a 3% increase this year, which I hope is conservative. And the current levy of 4.62 mills would bring in about $3.3 million of a $10.3 million total budget. Our overall FY16 spending in this proposal is actually decreased by $100,000. Doesn't happen very often, but several things came about that made that possible at this point in time. I guess for the first couple of years here that I was here, and then for a few years before that, we dipped into fund balance. When your digest loses $200 million, you have to go into your rainy day reserve fund. Last year and this year, or the first 2 years, we haven't had to do that. There is no prior year surplus or fund balance projected to be used in this budget. And it is a budget of $10,267,267 with revenues and expenditures balanced. We do take care of some of our major expenses in our enterprise funds. Stormwater capital projects are continuing in a process that I'd have to say that Gay, Johnson, and her staff at Public Works has really refined and made more successful over the years. We're starting to get into the meat of a lot of stormwater improvements, and it's good to see, important for the community. Another item on there that you're going to see, next to last one, is street resurfacing, something that's everybody is interested in. We want nice, smooth, well-maintained roadways, and we have a little over $600,000 budgeted in this year's budget from capital expenditures and from our SPLOST funding. We have a couple of increases in the budget this year. Property and liability insurance increased a little bit, and our group health, like everybody else, we put a 5% increase in there. And we have one new line item. There is the Georgia Municipal Association in Atlanta, who represents in lobbies and works with all 538 cities in Georgia, has a cable and telecom management service that helps cities with their franchise agreements, cell tower leases, and telecom bills. And I'm requesting about $5,800 to join that service, and I believe that money will come back to us as we review everybody's franchise, including a cell tower lease that we have. So that's kind of an overview of the budget. If we get a little more specific, and we look at the general departments, most of the department spending is up this year, even though the overall budget is decreased, and that's because of salary and benefit concerns and needs there. You can see on the last. Must be a thunderstorm out there.
Light truck.
That's a system that works. The last three items, the capital expenditures, debt service, and transfers, are all down this year, and that's what enables us to lower the budget. The next is our capital improvements for this year. We're looking at an equipment shelter and, as I said, continued street paving in public works, and police patrol vehicles, laser equipment, and computer replacement. Try to keep updated with the continuously replacing computers in our cars. About $400,000 total. I hope that's not a bad sign for this budget. A couple of, in our two enterprise funds, just a review of sanitation. This year, the bottom line, the general fund subsidy needed is going to be about $480,000. That will continue the policy that I know everyone appreciates of free household garbage pickup, no charge. We take that out of tax revenues. It's not really free, but there is not a monthly fee like there is with Gwinnett County and almost all other cities. So the subsidy is slightly up this year because our revenues are down in recycling. Our recycling markets are not good, and it's just a kind of like a roller coaster. We can do nothing about that. But I believe our recycling center, our award-winning recycling center, is certainly worth continuing supporting and operating. I think that's a service that everybody appreciates. And in the final page, our stormwater review, where we still are, our expenditures are somewhere over $800,000. That includes our monthly operating expenses in addition to our capital projects, and we will still have cash left in the bank at the end of the FY16 budget. So that's kind of an overview. We can go to the hearing, I guess.
Does anybody on council have questions for Mr. Sanders?
I do. I want to just, this came up, and I did speak with you on the phone about this the other day. Came up when I was speaking to some people about annexation. It seems that we have a discrepancy between what the county's allowance is for the senior citizens exemption. I believe it's $20,000 in the county, and in the city it's $5,000. And I'd asked you if you could figure out if we move that to $20,000, so we were in with the city and gave that additional exemption of $15,000 to our senior citizens, how that would affect our budget. That's the first part of the question. The second part of the question would be to Attorney Powell as to what we would have to do, if that's something we can do, what we would have to do to raise that from the $5,000 to $20,000.
Mr. Witts, there is a discrepancy there, and that would have an impact trying to annex senior citizens' residential property. And a preliminary look at all the numbers comes up to somewhere in the neighborhood of a cost of around $120,000. The difference between the $5,000 exemption that we currently have on the number of residences that we currently have that have the senior exemption and the county number of $20,000. I'd like a chance to refine that a little bit, but that's the approximate number.
Well, then, is that something we can do between the first reading and the second reading and adjust that at the second reading?
We can. At the budget meeting the other day, there were several questions came up about expenditures, and one thing about this budget is our revenues are very conservatively projected in here. And as I said, the budget usually changes between the first and second reading, and I will certainly be glad to add that to a list and accommodate that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Powell, what will we have to do legally if we wanted to raise that exemption from $5,000 to $20,000 for senior citizens?
And the exemption you're talking about is the for ad valorem tax exemption, or is it?
Which says property value.
Yeah, you've got to do that through local legislation, I think, in order to change your homestead exemption amounts. It's a legislature event.
I don't know that that's homestead exemption.
It's not homestead.
That would be, I think, something different. This is in addition to a homestead exemption. As a senior citizen, there's an additional $20,000.
Well, let's do this. Could we do this? Could you research that for us?
And you're targeting, this is tax exemption, local tax exemption amounts.
Property tax. It's specifically for senior citizens. The county has it at 20%, correct? Right now, $20,000 right now. Inside the city, it's only $5,000. So what I'm trying to do, and we're finding out if it's feasibly, economically too, is could we raise it to the same as the county, to $20,000? Is that something we can do locally without going to the legislature? So could you find that out for us over the next 2 minutes?
I'll
Okay.
be glad to look at it, yes, sir.
Other questions for Mr. Oh, sorry. That's okay. Other questions for Mr. Sanders or comments from council?
No, I just want to say the budget's pretty complicated, and I think Mr. Sanders has done an outstanding job of putting all the pieces together so we can continue to deliver high-quality services and keep the tax rate low. And at this point in time, there's no projected increase in tax rate. That may change, but at this point in time, it's not projected.
I also want to thank Mr. Sanders and staff. We did have a special called work session last week to discuss the budget. I want to let everyone know that there are a couple of things that I don't have the figures for yet, but I do plan on contacting mayor and council and staff about looking at for the budget before our second reading in June. In the work session, we discussed a potential for a tractor for the parks. They had talked about theirs needing started with a screwdriver. I understand that through email conversations today, maybe the tractor's not necessary, maybe a lawnmower or something of that sort. But we are about $130,000 less this year in capital expenses, so that's one thing I plan on putting forward for this council to consider. Also, we've been working on getting some price quotes originally for downstairs, but I know how important downstairs is for storage for stats, so we've looked at upstairs and turning it into part of upstairs into a multi-purpose room that could be used by the Snellville Arts Commission as a room to have poetry readings, maybe one-act plays or small type productions upstairs. And so we do have some preliminary figures for that as far as doing some of the drywall and building out the electrical and heating and air. The third capital expense that we are still working on getting some figures for is what's called a Tiger grant. This is something that's a federal highway grant, and it's something that this mayor and council has been discussing for several years. We've had some obstacles, but I think this year some of the obstacles have been removed. Some of the obstacles was funding for the Savannah Port and priorities for the city of Snellville, and we all know the port is no longer an issue. We've also had some issues in that we haven't been prepared. The application is due in September, and we haven't been able to get our environmentals done in time. The Tiger grant would be something that would be involved with the CFI, the continuous flow intersection at 124 and 78. And what it would do would be allow us to actually save some money by using federal funds on that, doing a joint project with the state, and also potentially add pedestrian bridges to that project. That's something we've all talked about that has been needed for that project. So we do have Some meetings coming up with DOT officials, Congressman Johnson, and others involved to see if there's some potential going forward, and if so, what the cost would be to the city to pay for those environmentals that would be needed for that grant. The final thing that I'm not prepared to say a number tonight, but I'm going to ask council to consider in this budget is a pay increase for our police department. We received preliminary numbers tonight for the police department, and it was my understanding that our starting salary for police officers was lower than other cities in Gwinnett County that have police forces. But in looking in the numbers that were given to us earlier today, it's not our starting salaries, it's all of our salaries, of our patrolmen, of our captains, of our sergeants, even our dispatch and our clerks. Through email communication, I know some council members have talked about a 3-year plan or a 3-year study to look at salaries for 3 years and address it then. But a study for 3 years doesn't help our police department pay their bills now. And many of our police officers work several jobs to make ends meet. And it's no secret that our police department is the jewel of our city. We're talking about annexation. Well, the biggest draw to people to come into our city limits is our police department. And they are such an asset to our city, I think that they deserve to be compensated for that asset. I also think in today's time, we all know what's going on across the United States with police officers, and they, more than anyone, deserve to be appreciated, especially through their salary. So I'm going to ask that we consider a raise across the board for our police department in this year's budget. So with that, I will open it up for public comment. This is your first opportunity to speak about the budget, what you support, what you're against, and state your name and address for the record. Okay. Seeing no public comment, we will move to item C. That's first reading on ordinance 2015-08. That's to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Snellville to replace Code Section 58, Division 2, regarding the operation of record services within the city and to repeal conflicting ordinances. Do I have a motion to waive the first reading and place it on our June agenda?
Motion to waive to the June agenda.
There's a motion by Councilwoman Kraus. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Emmanuel. All those in favor signify by raising their right hand. That's 6 in favor. All those opposed, that's 0 opposed. The motion stands approved. That brings us to new business. Is there a motion on before we get into new business?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to add item C. Motion to amend the agenda to add item C, appropriating funds for purchase of 2 tables for the pop-up market to be held on May 16th.
Okay. Is that the only?
And I also would like to amend the agenda.
Okay, hold on just a second. We have one motion at a time. Mr. Witz, is that your full motion? You're not going to?
Yes, I do. I just don't got to figure out exactly how to word it. To buy the tables in order to accommodate.
Well, no, I'm sorry. Did you want to make a motion to add item D too, or you're just motioning
No,
to add item
C.
C? Okay. So we have a motion to add item C. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Emmanuel. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. That's 6 in favor. All those opposed, 0 opposed. Motion stands approved. Do I have another motion?
Yes, ma'am. Motion to add to the agenda item D, the reading of resolution, and don't have the number here, authorizing the filing of an appeal for civil action 14-A-00747, pending in the Superior Court of Gwinnett County.
Is your motion to add it as a reading or as an action item?
As an action item.
There is a motion. Is there by Councilman Howard? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Kraus. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. That's 5 in favor. Those opposed, that's 1 opposed. The motion stands approved. So that brings us to item A, consideration action on award of bid for City of Snellville Wi-Fi. We discussed this in the work session. We're not quite ready to go forward. Do I have a motion to, I guess, table this agenda item? And I think we're going to place it on our next work session. We'll put it back on a regular agenda when it's ready.
Motion to table until the June meeting.
Table till June. There's a motion by Mr. Emanuel. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Howard. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. 6 in favor. All those opposed, 0 opposed. The motion stands approved. Item B, consideration action on appointing City Clerk Phyllis Richardson as absentee ballot clerk for 2015 elections. Is there a motion?
Motion to table this until after the election committee has had a chance to have further meetings and to hear their recommendation to the June meeting.
Motion to table it to the June meeting? Okay. There's a motion. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Emanuel. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. That's 6 in favor. Those opposed, 0 opposed. The motion stands approved. Item C is consideration for tables for pop-up market. Is there a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that the council approve the purchase of 2 tables at $400 apiece. Is that correct, Ms.? $200 apiece? Okay, so the total of $400. Provided that the Economic Development Director has commitments from people to attend that meeting in those seats. So no more than 1 to 2 tables, no more than 2 tables, and I'd ask the council to approve that.
So for clarification, your motion is to approve up to 2 tables for purchase at the pop-up market. There's a motion. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Kraus. Point of clarification, Mr. Witz, I think in the work session we discussed the fact that the proceeds for the purchase of the tables was going to the Greater Eastside Chamber of Commerce, which is a nonprofit. Do you know, has Mr. Van Ont, we had talked about the city not making that donation to them. Do you know if that's been addressed?
I do not, but I think, you know, we can make that as part of the motion that has to be clarified. It has been discussed, so Mr. Van Honor is not here, but he knows that does need to be clarified.
Any additional questions or discussion? Okay, see none. All those in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. That's 5 in favor. All those opposed, that's 1 opposed. The motion stands approved. Item D is resolution authorizing the filing of an appeal of civil action 14A00747 pending in the Superior Court of Gwinnett County, approving Kevin Talent of the law firm of Miles, Hansford, and Talent, LLC, to pursue the appeal on behalf of the City of Snellville and the council members named as defendants therein in their official capacity, and further resolve to fund the payment of the attorney fees for said appeal. It says, whereas the mayor initiated legal proceedings against members of the City Council of Snellville on January 24, 2014, under case number 14A00747-10, whereas on April 27, 2015, Judge Warren Davis of the Gwinnett County Superior Court ordered attorney fees to be paid to the mayor's lawyers. Whereas the defendant city council members desire to consider appealing the ruling of the Superior Court in reference to the payment of the mayor's attorney's fees. Whereas the defendant members of the Snellville City Council desire to retain the services of Kevin Talent and the law firm of Miles, Hansford, and Talent. Whereas it is expected that the attorney's fees for this appeal will not exceed $20,000 without the need for further consultation and authorization of the City Council. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing authority of the City of Snellville, Georgia, that the city hereby retains the legal services of Kevin Talent to prepare, file, and pursue an appeal in the appropriate court having jurisdiction over the appeal of the matters raised by the decision of the Gwinnett County Superior Court case number 14-A00747-10. It is further resolved that the city manager and the responsible city staff are authorized to pay city attorney's fees in an amount up to $20,000 for services rendered in this appeal. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve resolution as read into the record.
There's a motion by Mr. Howard. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Kraus. Mr. Powell, I have a couple of questions for you. This, I just lost it. This says that the resolution itself, it says the City of Snellville, so is this, it says that the city hereby retains the legal services of Kevin Talent. So is Mr. Talent representing the defendant members of the City Council, or is he being retained to represent the city?
I think in this instance, all of the defendants have an equal standing with regard to the decision. So I think he would be representing all interest in the appeal.
So he would be representing the city and the individual defendants?
Yeah, the levy in this case for attorney's fees is actually against the city.
I understand, but I just want to clarify, because at one point in time it was a conflict of interest, and you're saying there is no conflict, that one attorney can represent everyone?
Yeah, I don't think in this instance, when Mr. Talent has participated in the full trial of the case, he's fully familiar with all of the issues. The distinction between the parties in terms of conflicts, there actually were conflicts that arose during the trial of the case because the plaintiff put the staff members at odds with the city council members. Those things all disappear when it comes to attorney's fees against the citizens.
And so in the actual case, you represented the city and Mr. Talent represented the individual members of council. Your rate was $150. Do you know if Mr. Talent's rate for this will be $150 an hour?
I really have not discussed that with him. I'm assuming that he pretty much stuck to that billing requirement during the trial of the case, and whatever his billing was, it'll be the same, I'm sure.
Do you know if Mr. Talent and your firm's legal fees have been paid from this case already?
I really don't know if Mr. Talent's fees have been, I'm assuming they have been, or I would have heard about it. Yes, ma'am.
Has your firm's legal fees been paid
Yes,
from this
ma'am,
case?
they have, yes.
And that was for representation of the city and individual members?
Yes, ma'am.
And in Judge Davis's order, he gave a very thorough order. I think it was like 23, 26 pages. He obviously put a lot of time and effort into it. And one of the things he ordered was interest to be accrued. And would that interest stop during the appeal process?
It would not. It accrues from the date of the rendering of the judgment, and obviously in consideration of whether an appeal is appropriate or not, you weigh the issue of the accrual of attorney's fees and the probability of success. And so,
Thank
if
you,
you're successful, there is no interest.
I understand. Thank you, Mr. Powell. And just to be clear, you talked about success. Mr. Davis's order, he did outline what he felt were certain issues that the mayor prevailed on, and he listed those out several, and then certain areas where he didn't. And so he did adjust the request for attorney's fees by that in his order.
I remember the attempt to satisfy the success requirement in the order. I don't remember an allocation of attorney's fees based on that calculation, which is probably one of the things that you'd point to as error in the case.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Powell. Additional questions? All those in favor of passage of the resolution signify by raising your right hand. That's 5 in favor. All those opposed, that's 1 opposed. The resolution stands approved. That now brings us to our council reports. Mr. Witz.
Thank you. We've got a busy month ahead of us. It starts this Saturday with our pop-up market on the green, and then we go on after that to our Veterans Memorial Weekend celebration, and then after that we go to our beach blast. So between now and the next time we meet, we're going to have a lot of fun on the city green. I'd like to talk to you about Memorial Weekend. All around metropolitan Snellville, you can purchase these balloon cards for our LED lighted balloon launch on May 23rd. It'll happen probably around 9 o'clock at the end of the concert, because it'll be dark enough then. We're going to hopefully set off 1,000 balloons. If you remember last year at Veterans Day, we set off about between 300 and 400. So we're looking at 1,000. We ordered 1,250 balloons today, so we will have the balloons. I'll be there with lots of hot air to blow up the balloons, and we hope that all you will purchase. These are available at Wild Wings, Mellow Mushroom, Rice Box, the United Community Bank, I know the Army Navy store, Fratelli's, I'm probably missing one or two, but they're listed on our page. The other thing to remember is that night, first at 4 o'clock, we'll have our serious, very touching memorial, and then after that, at 5 o'clock, we'll have our festival begin. 5 o'clock till 9 o'clock, we have two groups. First group is a group called, I'm gonna do this wrong, I know it is, Rock. What, I'm sorry, somebody don't remember? Thank you very much. I answered your question today, and I can't answer it now. Rocking Birds, and they play all late 60s, early 70s music, very much the music of the Vietnam era. And then after that is a gentleman who's a legend in Atlanta, Ron Kimball. If you haven't heard Ron Kimball, he's amazing. And he'll be in concert for 2 hours from 7 to 9 on the green that night. Then immediately following that will be the balloon launch. You know, in the 90s, when I was the commander of the BFW post here, we used to talk about how we were losing our World War II veterans. At that time, it was 20 years ago, and our World War II veterans were passing away frequently. And us Vietnam guys are all middle-aged, and we were kind of immune to it. Well, times have changed. Now there are not very many World War II veterans left among us, and now our Vietnam veterans are in their 70s, and they are starting to pass away. And unfortunately, today, we lost one of our own. Jerry Long, who was a decorated Vietnam veteran who lived up on Nob Hill, passed away. So I'd like you to remember him and all the other veterans who have passed this past year, and I hope that you'll come out and help us celebrate them and celebrate our freedoms on Memorial Day. Thank you.
Well, it's a happy day this weekend in the Bender household. My daughter graduated from Georgia Southern School of Nursing on Saturday, so she's all official now. So we're mom and dad have got a raise, and as soon as the rent on the apartment's over, then we're all good. So we're very excited and very proud of Katie. She did a great job and finished college with honors, so we're very, very proud of her. Just wanted to let you know, I'm going to miss the next couple of events going on. We have a standing trip every year, so I'm going to miss the pop-up market on Saturday, and then I'll miss the Veterans Memorial Day celebration due to a wedding that's out of town. So I will be absent the next couple of meetings or a couple of events, but I will be back in here for the Beach Blast, and very excited. So y'all stay tuned, grab your Spirit magazine so that you know all the dates of all the great events coming up.
Everybody enjoy Snellville days? I can't hear you. I thought it was a great event, and fortunately we had good weather for it. I think you'll see another great time at the Memorial Day celebration at the Veterans Memorial. If you know any politicians, please tell them to come out because we need all the hot air we can get. And just want to take a moment to again thank our police force. There's been a lot of negative news coverage of goings on with the police forces around the country. I think it's really unfortunate. You have a couple of bad apples, and it seems that that's turned into every police officer's a bad apple. And I think our department is exemplary in what a good job they do. We've had people call in and say, well, one of your officers was rude, and then when they look at the video, they say, no, he wasn't. So they do an outstanding job both at protecting the city and in being respectful to anybody they pull over. So I think if you have a chance to say thank you to one of our police officers, they do an outstanding job.
How y'all doing out there? Awful quiet. Everybody have a good week? Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, obviously. How about all the mothers in the room stand up? Come on. There we go. Very good. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. The Cop Cab was a great hit at Snellville Days. It was there all weekend, and it had a lot of pictures taken of it, a lot of inquiries, a lot of people taking information on it. So hopefully we're going to continue to put that thing out there so people can see it and hopefully make a difference one day. If you didn't notice it as you come in, there's a big old nice white rolling box out there with Give Hunger the Boot, and I want to publicly thank Dave and his wife Kathy for making sure that that motor on the Give Hunger the Boot train just keeps going on and on and on. And I'm not going to bust any bubbles or take anybody's thunder, but we got some really exciting stuff coming up with Give Hunger the Boot. You're just not going to believe it. So, along with our sister city, Grayson, I mean, we've got some wow things happening. So y'all be on the lookout for that. Again, thank y'all. Shop local. Spend some money here in Snellville when you can, and travel safe going home. And I thank you all again for the opportunity to serve you here in this city. Thank you.
That concludes the council reports. Now for the mayor's report. I want to thank Congressman Hank Johnson. He is our representative on one half of our city. He had a town hall meeting here last week. Several members of the council were able to attend. There were several participants there, or a few participants there, that didn't always agree with Mr. Johnson's politics, and he handled himself well, and I admire him for being in such an intimate setting, for answering the tough questions and keeping us cool even when staff sometimes wanted to shut off some of the people asking the questions. So he did an excellent job, and we appreciate him coming to our city to answer our citizens' questions. We want to thank the 201st Army National Guard, Georgia Army National Guard, for coming and being a participant from the Snellville Days parade. As chair of the parade, I want to thank all the volunteers in the Parks Department for making Snellville Days possible, but as chair of the Snellville Days parade, I want to personally thank those that were involved in the parade. Several of the committee members are here tonight. We have Carol Maldonado and Claudette Forbes and former Councilman Mike Sabag that were out there helping us that morning, and Miss Sims also and her husband Truett were here, and Dexter Harrison and my parents. So we want to thank everybody that made the Snellville Days Parade possible. It was a great event. There's some pictures. Senator Butler participated. We had the Humvee there from the Army National Guard. And then the winner of the float contest this year, Tony Thomas. Thank you to Tony Thomas with Channel 2 for being our MC. And then we had the winner of the float contest this year was Joy Summer Camp, a local summer camp here in the city of Snellville. And our theme this year was superheroes. It was a beautiful day. We probably had one of the largest crowds ever, so we just appreciate we had over 90 organizations participate and hundreds of people involved, and so we just want to thank everyone and thank the police department for helping us get the roads closed, and the color guard for leading the parade, and staff for all of your help in making it possible. I know we had some issues with the LCI and it all worked out great, so thank you. Also, I had one more thing I wanted to talk about in my mayor's report, and now I don't remember what it was. I didn't have a picture for it, and that's what happens when you don't sleep 24 hours. They said that happens after you have a baby. I guess it's true. Oh, I know what it was. Councilman Sabag, former council member Sabag, a couple of years ago started a Flag Day celebration here in the city of Snellville. Snellville is the only city in Gwinnett County that honors Flag Day. And since he is no longer on council, he wanted to be sure that Flag Day didn't die. And so he and some others have organized the Snellville Flag Day Committee. They've incorporated, and they have actively planned Flag Day for this year. Chairwoman Nash is going to be the keynote speaker, and it will be June 12th. Flag Day is officially June 14th, which is a Sunday, and so we always celebrate during the work week since it's here at City Hall. So it will be June 12th at 10 o'clock, and I invite everyone to come out and participate in what will be a lovely occasion, and I thank former Councilman Sabag for making sure that tradition continues. With that, I will close my mayor's report and open it up for public comment. Please state your name and address for the record.
Marcy Ferris, 1749 Ridgedale Drive. There was a discussion in the work session about the transitional website and the new website. And Mayor, you were unhappy because they are suggesting that they remove your picture. They're trying to sell Snellville. while you were in the executive session, we checked 13 cities in Gwinnett County. Not one has a mayor's picture on it. They're selling the city. We need to sell the city. Thank you.
Jared S. Blankenship, 2867 Overwood Lane, Snellville, Georgia. That I can't hear. I have 6 of these at the house. I have a connection that goes from them to my bed. My smoke detector, my fire detector, my alarm clocks is all set up on vibrators if I'm asleep to keep me from burning up. And it might hurt your ears, but this is what I have to go through to hear. This flashes red light and get you, and I don't hear nothing. So y'all might hear it, I don't. And if it wasn't for VA, I wouldn't have these. And they the one that issued them. Sir? No, sir. So when I'm coming up here for 2 years and 17 years, I can't hear that, and I ain't got an idea what they're saying over there. I can see the lights blink, I can see fire, and if I'm sitting in the chair or laying in the bed, then I can feel the bed vibrate and figure that either it's an earthquake or I need to wake up and look around. So I think I've got more of a problem than anybody's ever wanted to accept. This one, I've got 6 alarms in the house with the sirens, and I never hear one of them. I think y'all need to know this.
I'm Gretchen Schultz, 2027 Tanglewood Drive, and I just wanted to bring y'all up to speed on what's going on in the community garden. Some of you know, but there's a lot in the audience that may not know, and we have some terrific things going on there. We're in the process of erecting a greenhouse there, and we've put up one side of it, working on the other side, and hopefully before too much longer, the 2-layer plastic roofing, did I say that correctly? We'll go over, maybe with the help of many, many volunteers that we'll have to get to help us with that. This past Saturday, we had a work day, and we completed an extension to our calendar garden, and that is along the fence on Sawyer Parkway. And we had tremendous help with that this Saturday from Girl Scout Troop 3486. They've helped us previously. This is something they seem to enjoy doing, and they planted all the plants. They put mulch down around all of the plants. We could not have done it without these Girl Scouts that showed up. All of our beds are currently rented. Last Wednesday night, we had a class taught by Tim Daly, our county extension agent, on pests in the vegetable garden. So there are just wonderful, wonderful things going on in that garden, and we're very, very active. And we're getting well into the growing season now, and that means weeds too. So anybody that wants to help weed, we'd always be grateful for that. I also wanted to mention that the farmers market opens June 6th, and our new hours this year are 8:30 to 12:30. We have many of the same vendors coming back and a few new ones, but as always, it'll be great fun and the place to be on Saturday morning in Snellville to meet up with your friends and neighbors and to buy some wonderful, wonderful farm fresh produce, baked goods, and other items. So we're getting ready for that. So all is good as far as community garden and farmers market. Oh, well, this is pretty cool. We have a gardener. Her name is Shervette Miller-Payton, who started a bed with us during our very first year at the garden, which that would have been 2 summers ago because this is our 3rd summer. And I'll never forget the day she came to the garden with her plants that she'd purchased, and she seemed really unsure about how to plant her plants. And so one of our other gardeners stepped forward, recognizing Shervette's uncertainty, and she offered to help her. And she said to Shervette, she said, "Do you have a trowel?" And Shervette just kind of got this uncertain look on her face, and she said, "What's a trowel?" And so we quickly realized that she really was a novice, and this other gardener very patiently helped her plant her plants. Well, this past Saturday, Shervette was at our work day, and she told me, I just think this is so cool, she's now a certified master gardener. And her gardening experience in the community garden in Snellville had encouraged her that much about gardening. She's also a teacher in DeKalb County, and she's working on gardening projects with her students at her school. So that was just such a wonderful story about, just one person's story about what the garden has done for them.
Madam Mayor, councilors, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Claudette Forbes, and I live at 2781 Londonderry Court. Strange, I'm here to talk about the garden too, but on a slightly different note. When the first day, when we broke ground in 2013, spring, I see Snellville come together, everyone working together, and it was a very happy day for me. It was a day of work and fun and pleasure. Shortly thereafter, I wrote a poem, and it's called The Garden at Snellville. And I read it here, if any of you recall. About 10 days after that, I got an email from Councillor Howard, and he thought the poem was very good, and he'd like to have it done in bronze and erected in the garden, and asked if I would give permission. I thought this was a novel idea, and I said, sure, go ahead. Well, he had it done in bronze, and he emailed it to me. It was a beautiful piece of artwork, very well done. And he asked myself and Gretchen to select a spot to have it erected. We did, and I informed you where we thought would be the best spot for the poem. And that was in July, I think, of 2013. So my question really is to you, Mr. Howard. It's two-part. The poem was never erected in the garden, so I'm asking, where is the poem now, and why wasn't it erected? Okay, Mr. Howard, since you do not want to comment or answer my question, I will shoot you an email. Maybe you could answer me then? I'll certainly do that. Thank you.